midnight on the stormy deep. My solitary watch I keep, and to think of how I left behind, and ask if she'd be true and kind. Willie, don't go back to sea. There's other girls as good as me, but none can love you true as I. Pray don't go where the bullets fly. I never shall forget the day that I was forced to go away. In silence at my head she'd rest and press me to her loving breast. The deep, deep sea may us divide, and I may be some other's bride, but still my thoughts will sometimes stray to thee when thou art far away. I never have proved false to thee. The heart I gave was good as thine, but you have proven not true to me. I can no longer call thee mine, and fare thee well. I'd rather lay my home upon some icy lake, where the southern sun refused to shine, than to trust a love so false as thine.
Real fine job. Bill, would you like to do another number, maybe a trio for us?
All right, that's a good idea. We will we'll do an old timer that we sang on the program here last night, entitled "All the Good Times Are Past and Gone." We haven't got to rehearse this number much, but it's an old time and a lot of folks like it. We'll do it for you.
All the good times are past and gone. All the good times are o'er.
Okay, all the good times review here with Richard Greene, who's the fiddle player for Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys. Where are you from, Richard?
Los Angeles, California.
And how did you come to Bluegrass from Los Angeles, California?
Well, it came to me in the form of Scott Stoneman. He's a fiddle player. Used to be, well, he's now again with the Stoneman family. And he happened to stay at my house for a few days, or a few weeks, and instilled that thing into my blood. I can't get it out of my blood now.
Were you in any groups out in California?
Not bluegrass groups. They were. Oh, I was in one bluegrass group just before I came east, but that was just for about a month.
Why did you come east?
To join the Greenbrier Boys.
Aha. And how long were you with them?
Oh, about 6 months.
And from then on, it was with Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys.
Right.
I see. How did you manage to get into Bill's band here?
Well, there was one date. Didn't happen to have a fiddle player, and Ralph Rinsler knew of me and called me. Happened to be in New York and asked me if I'd do the show with Bill, which I did.
And that started it?
Yeah.
Okay. Richard, I heard you last Wednesday night at the Gas Line on the opening night here with Bill. And, well, I must say that I was rather impressed by your fiddle playing. The audience seemed to like it pretty well, too. And one of the reasons seems to be, well, apart from your tone and everything, you seem to have one of the most far-out inventive styles on the fiddle that I've heard recently. And I was wondering how you developed that style. If you can possibly put it into words.
Well, I'll have to contradict you just a little bit in order to answer that question. What may seem like inventiveness is actually a way to cover up a certain lack of knowledge I have about some of these songs. I really don't know them all as well as I should, and when I'm playing a tune that I don't know, the best way to cover it up is to do what they call improvising, which I hope to get away from as soon as I have time to learn all these songs. And fiddle playing will be more straight, but in a more real sense of the word, it'll also be more inventive than it is now.
I see. And you're learning this from Bill as you go along?
Yeah, from Bill directly, yeah.
Well, actually, probably the most far-out, in my terms, arrangement that you pulled off on Wednesday night was the Orange Blossom Special version. Oh, that. Which, well, Bill seems to be pretty happy with it.
Well, that's what they call a show tune, and that you can do anything on. There's no restrictions or limitations or anything.
In learning how to play the fiddle, did you listen to records, or did you more or less make it up out of your head as you went along?
No, I listened to lots of records and wrote out on music paper fiddle breaks and played along with the record and tried to get everything just the way it was on the record. And also Scott Stoneman taught me a lot about feeling, the feeling. He didn't teach me any licks or anything. I mean, he did a few licks, but the main thing was feeling.
Had you previously had any kind of musical experience on the violin or the fiddle?
Yeah, I studied. I took violin lessons when I was 5, and throughout my youth.
I guess that made it a little bit easier for you then when you took up bluegrass.
I didn't have any technical problems.
I see.
I had a much bigger problem.
Would you like to
intellectual problem?
Would you like to demonstrate those problems for us now on a fiddle instrumental you'd like to do? Okay. You can introduce it yourself too. Okay.
This is named after Bill Monroe. It's called Big Mun.
Okay, that was Richard Greene on the fiddle there with Big Mun. Bill, I understand that you have a new album coming out pretty soon.
Oh, that's right, we do have.
That's on what label?
That's on Decca.
Right, just for the record, we have to have that. And what kind of material will be featured on the record?
Well, there'll be a lot of the older numbers that we recorded a good many years back. There was some records left over that Jimmy Martin recorded with me, and they're going to be brought out. Numbers like My Dying Bed and numbers like that. And I don't remember the names of all of them, but there'll be some numbers that we do get a lot of requests for, and that should be brought out now.
What's the name of the album?
How Lonesome Sound.
Fine. Also, I was remarking before that you have, well, besides a lot of old material that you're doing on your shows, some of the things that you're doing are actually things that you put together maybe within the last year. And, well, I'd like to hear you do one of those new slow tunes that you do, The Walls of Time, maybe one of the new banjo instrumentals that you've been coming up with recently.
All right, now, The Walls of Time, that's the number we're going to do right away. We're going to record it, and then we will record the banjo number that Lamar's going to do, too, just in a little bit.
The wind is blowing
That was The Walls of Time you just listened to by Pete Rowan and myself, a new number that will go on Decca record before long. And now, we want to call Lamar up to the microphone here to do a new number that we are going to record in a short time, entitled Crossing the Cumberlands.
Lamar Grier there doing Crossing the Cumberland. Well, we're going to call James Monroe, otherwise known as Jim, over here to the microphone. He's been sitting on the sidelines watching the band play because his bass is down in the Gaslight Cafe and he hasn't brought it up here. It's a fifth-floor walk-up, incidentally. And, well, Jim, since you are one of the Monroe clan itself, and you've probably just been alive a little bit more than Bluegrass itself has, maybe you could have some interesting light to shed on the matter of Bluegrass. How has it been being raised along with Bluegrass music by your father, Bill Monroe?
How's it been what now?
How has it been being raised, as Bluegrass music has been raised, I imagine, by your father, Bill Monroe? I mean, have you been right next to it as it's been developed?
Oh, yeah, I've listened to it all through my life, you know, and I really do like it.
Mm-hmm. What kind of encouragement has Bill given you to play some Bluegrass instruments and get along with actually performing it?
Well, he's given me quite a bit of encouragement. He's helped me quite a bit on the bass, and he's helped me now on my singing.
Uh-huh. You're doing some of the singing on some of the quartets, I understand.
Yeah, I'm singing lead on them.
How is it working for your father? You're the only Bluegrass boy in that situation right now.
Well, I've I've had a lot of other jobs, and really he's better to work for than anybody I ever have. You better say that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. It's been working out pretty well. How long have you actually been with him?
Well, I guess I've been playing bass about 2 years now. I've just started, as you can tell, on my singing not too long.
Okay, would you like to give us an example? We heard some quartets at the Gaslight last night. I thought they worked out pretty well. So maybe you can get together with one now.
We'll do a quartet. The gang will come around the microphone here. That brings in James Williams, Pete Rowan, and Richard Greene on the bass, and myself. Boys, let's do the number that Hank Williams wrote entitled I Saw the Light. Can you do that?
Yes, sir.
I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Wonder so aimless, life filled with sin. I wouldn't let my dear Savior in. Then Jesus came like a stranger in the night. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Hallelujah. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I was a fool to wander astray. Straight is the gate and narrow the way. Now I have traded the wrong for the right. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Hallelujah. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Just like a blind man, I wandered along, worries and cares I claimed for my own. Then like a blind man, that God gave back his sight. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Oh Lordy, I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light.
WKCR FM, New York.
Bluegrass Boys there with I Saw the Light. Right now, since we are just about at the half-an-hour mark, if our timing here is correct, I'd like to remind you you're tuned to WKCR FM in New York City at 89.9 on the FM dial, the voice of student radio at Columbia University in New York City. And right now, we'd like to call the head of the show, more or less, for at least this week, Bill Monroe, over to the microphone, and I'd like to ask him a couple of questions. It seems that you have a pretty good new band here with you. I haven't gotten to hear it in exactly this combination until just now, and a lot of good, fresh, young blood, and getting to sound pretty good. What are some of the things that you expect from the boys? How do you like them to play so that you get the right sound out of bluegrass?
Well, I expect them all to get in there and work, and everybody pull for each other, you know. And of course, we have to have all 5 instruments has to get in there and really play right, you know. Takes a good fiddler and a good banjo player and a guitar man and bass man and somebody to play the mallet. Mm-hmm. And we got a pretty good group here, I think. Some of the boys hadn't been with me very long, but the time they're here, I'd say 6 months, they'll really be doing it all right. They'll be playing bluegrass music.
Okay, how is it that you think that that the various instruments should play? I mean, each one has a separate part in the band, and each fulfills its own function. What is it that, say, the fiddle does that the other instruments don't do that are most important for it to fulfill?
Well, I've always figured a fiddle to be the lead instrument, you know, and of course he takes most of the melodies, I guess, then if I'm a singing, a solo, or we've got a duet or trio going, he'll back up the singing, with maybe some filling stuff, or might be playing some harmony along with it too,
Mm-hmm. Richard is not exactly one of the typical fiddlers that you had with you. How have you been bringing him along to play in the bluegrass style?
Well, Richard knows a lot about bluegrass. Of course, he could stand some more learning with it, but and I'm going to do my best to help him all I can, And what he is a little short of, is knowing a lot of the old-time fiddle numbers, I think, the way they should be played, that know the melody all the way through. And, of course, a lot of the songs, he plays them fine. And I think you'll tell yourself that maybe he don't know some of the fiddle numbers. It's a job to know all of them, and give him some time.
Okay, I think we will. How about Lamar on the banjo?
Well, Lamar's coming along fine. He's been with us, I'd say, about, how long, 6 or 8 months or a year, something like that?
It's been about that, Bill.
And he's learned to leave out a lot of stuff that I don't want, That's been my big problem since I've had bluegrass music, or been the head of it, to keep out the stuff that I didn't want in it, That's been his bigger problem, is to get him to play, what I really did want. And so Lamar has discarded a lot of it. For the time being, he's got a lot of fine ideas that he brought from Washington, D.C. down to Nashville, that he's going to start adding them just a little as we go along, a little later. To when he gets really the foundation of bluegrass music and really goes to driving that banjo. And he's already begun to let it ring. Why, he'll be all right.
What are some of the things that you mentioned before that you think should be kept out of bluegrass music?
Well, real hot licks with the fiddle don't need to be in it. You don't need drums in it. You don't need a dobro in it. And a hot guitar, you don't need that in it.
What exactly do you think is the reason for those not being in it? It just doesn't produce the right sound, or is it something else? Well,
it gets back to brass, hot lick, if it's done in a bluegrass style, that's fine. And but it's kind of hard to keep it that way. Bluegrass, the hot music in bluegrass just goes out so far, and you can run it out too far, if you just keep fooling with it on a banjo or fiddle or mandolin, either one.
Bluegrass music has stayed pretty much the same since 1945, when it was actually more or less formed in its pretty close to present state. But you certainly have brought along some changes since then. What do you think are some of those that you've added to bluegrass?
Well, bluegrass was formed in '39. Of course, we added a banjo in '43, and that gave us the old-time style, the old-time sound, of a banjo. Bluegrass music was formed back in '39, and all we done was add the 5-string banjo. And when there wasn't hardly any around, of course, I used string beans. He done comedy, and I wanted a comedian in the group. And then a touch of the banjo. And following string, well, of course, we had Earl Scruggs, and he had the 3-finger roll, and that gave us a boost with the bluegrass. But as far as it forming in 45, it was formed back before that.
What since 1945 do you think you've added to the bluegrass style?
Well, I've brought in different ideas, each year. Different notes, that I can remember, and with fooling with music for so long or studying it, well, you can hear things that needs to be put into it and brought into it, and a different way of, and maybe letting the guitar do some runs, that would be original now. And with the style that Richard had with the fiddle, that'll give us a boost too, you see. And I have used that through the years. Each man, I don't say I've done it all, but through me and with the styles they would have, with the fiddle or the banjo or the guitar, would give me something on down the road, I wouldn't want to keep the same group for 25 or 30 years, I would get sounding awful stale then.
I see.
And I want new blood as I go along.
Well, you certainly have it now. People have been asking me personally, my own opinion on this subject. They're interested in knowing the answer to this question. Bill, as you've been going along now in country music for a long time, close to 30 years at least, not only on Grand Ole Opry but all over the country. And some people have asked me how long do I think Bill Monroe will be continuing on in bluegrass music, and I guess the best way to answer that question would be leaving it up to you and asking it of you.
Well, I don't really know. It seemed like time might be kind of catching up with me. I've tried to, really fight the music and keep it in the right groove and everything, and really drive it hard. And of course, you know the time's going to come when I'll have to quit fooling with it. But I'd say I'll stay with it probably another 10 years.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. Have you made any plans or had any thoughts concerning what you will do or what you would like to do with Bluegrass once you actually won't be playing it professionally with groups that tour and so on?
Well, I would like to keep the name of Bluegrass going on, and the Bluegrass Boys, it'll take the Bluegrass Boys. That name is going to have to play a big part in it. And I would like to, I'd like to see James William or somebody, carry that name on and keep it going, and I'll help out all that I can, with it.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. For the more immediate future, I hear that you're going to be going to Europe pretty soon. Could you give us a little bit of information about that?
Well, I believe that I will really enjoy the trip over there. That'll be my first trip. Pete is a smart guy of the Bluegrass Boys here, and he has show dates over there and everything about it. And he can really talk to you better on this than I can, I guess.
Okay, why don't you come over, Pete?
We'll be leaving for England on the 23rd of May and coming back on June 13th. And I ought to mention we'll be at the Starlight Room on the 19th of May.
Where are you going to be in England and Scotland, I think they'll mention?
Yeah. Different towns every night, I can't remember.
Would you know exactly how this all came about? I mean, how is it that you managed to get the trip going to Europe?
Well, I wrote to Bill Clifton and asked him the possibility of a tour over there. And he wrote back a favorable reply.
Bill Clifton has been there himself for a while, isn't he?
Yeah, for about 5 years.
I see.
And Roy Guest at the Folk Society over there helped us to arrange the tour.
How long have you yourself been playing with Bill, Pete?
It's been just over a year.
How do you like it?
It's bluegrass music.
It's bluegrass music. It is exactly bluegrass music. Nothing at all different. You, of course, have been learning some. I've noticed myself in observing you since the beginning days with the Bluegrass Boys. What are some of the things that you've been picking up from Bill, you think?
Well, how to control my voice more, and how to put the right kind of tone on it, and get on top of notes.
How does the actual instruction go on? Does he tell you what you're doing wrong, or does he do it right and let you try to imitate it, or what?
Well, we stand up the microphone and sing, you see.
Practice.
And that's how you do it.
And you kind of just get to understand what's supposed to be the right way after you hear it done the right way for a while.
Yeah, that's right.
I see. And how about your guitar playing?
About
Well, well, I think it's pretty good myself. I thought you did an awfully good job of helping push the band get a good sound.
Well, what Bill does is the new ideas that we come up with, he'll help define them and clean them up. And so when you hear them, it's a combination of his mind and ours.
A finished product, huh?
Yeah.
You yourself, I heard that you came to Bluegrass from college, which is not exactly the normal way of going. You were in college just before you came to the Bluegrass Boys, is that right?
Yeah, I fell out of it into bluegrass.
I see. How did that exactly happen?
Well, I left school to play music around Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I was playing with Bill Keith and Jim Rooney at the time. Bill came up and needed a guitar player for a show that he was doing in Barry, Vermont. And I played with him up there and then joined him in Nashville a couple of months later.
I see. And you've been going since?
Yeah.
Well, how about giving us an example of Pete Rowan's fine singing abilities? We're going to get ready to go with another song now, is that right?
How much more time do we have on the program here?
We have about 20 minutes or so.
I have an awful good friend up in this part of the country, Tex Logan. Why don't we dedicate Pete's number to him?
Fine.
Okay. Pete, what do you want to sing for
I'd
the
like to do the Willow Garden.
Down in the willow garden,
singing Down in the Willow Garden with the rest of the Bluegrass Boys. If you just happen to tune in, we are doing a taping session here. This is Friday afternoon, not Sunday as you might think it is. And we are having a session here with Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys. We've been talking to some of the members of the group. A little bit later we'll be talking to Lamar Grier, but before we do that, I think we'd like to hear another duet number if you could get one up for us.
All right, here's an old-time mountain number entitled Shady Grove that we play and sing, so we'll do that for you. Coffee grows on white oak trees, the river flows with brandy, the rocks on hill oak covered with gold, and a girl is sweeter than candy. Shady Grove, my little miss, Shady Grove, my darling, Shady Grove, my little miss, I'm going back to Harlan. Tree. Every time that little girl pays, take a bite of me. Shady Grove, my little miss, Shady Grove, my darling, Shady Grove, my little miss, I'm going back to Harlan. Every time I go that road, it's always dark and cloudy. Every time I see that girl, I always tell her howdy. Shady Grove, my little miss, Shady Grove, my darling, Shady Grove, my little miss, I'm going back to Harlan. Shady Grove, my little miss, Shady Grove, my darling, Shady Grove, my little miss, I'm going back to Harlan.
Shady Grove by Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys. Now we'd like to call Lamar Grier over here. And here he comes staggering over here. He's been having a rough time here.
That song was a little rough, yeah.
Having to play all this bluegrass music with Bill Monroe. Lamar, what kind of banjo is that you're playing there?
This is a Gibson Master Tone. It's one of the first ones I had. Was playing banjo about a year out of Vegas, and I bought this one new. The only really thing left new is the neck. I swapped off parts through the years, and everything else is
about how old there is the bottom?
The back here, this wood on the back, I don't know how old it is.
Mm-hmm.
The fellow just gave it to me and it sounded better than the one I had, so I kept this.
It's developed around a lot of different kinds of ideas. How did you develop your style?
Well, I could say, I guess it developed from the Scruggs pattern. That's how I first learned to play almost. I don't think he realized it, but he taught me how to play banjo.
Did you get that from records or from
Just from records, yeah.
Were there any actual influences around your area that you happened to hear, or?
Well, Don Stover was down in Washington